Friends Jack Dorsey and James McKelvey were brainstorming ways to make it easier for small businesses to accept credit and debit cards without having to pay the hefty fees that usually accompany them. This is where Square began. After about a month's worth of brainstorming, Dorsey and McKelvey built their first prototype from which the company would eventually receive their name. The device was a small square block which contained a magnetic stripe reader which could be plugged into the audio jack of both Android and Apple mobile devices. The device made it so that any debit or credit card could be used just about anywhere with the use of a cell phone or tablet. Square, which was founded in 2009, has come a long way since then and is now valued in excess of $3.4 billion. In order for Square to gain a competitive advantage against other payment systems in the industry, the company took several initiatives to differentiate itself. Unlike other payment systems, Square acted as a payment aggregator, owning its own merchant account and only charging fees when businesses accept payments and bank transfers on the account. The transparent fee structure gave Square a competitive advantage over rivals. By charging a flat fee of 15 cents plus 2.75% of the transaction value, this eliminated hidden fees for merchants. Owning its own merchant account not only allowed Square to charge lower fees, but also allowed them to provide services to small businesses shut out by the competition. While small businesses could not access other payment systems due to small profitability or low credit, Square allowed those businesses to accept payment at a lower cost. Other competitive advantage Square had was offering prospective customers the Square Reader for no cost. This encouraged small businesses to try out the Square system with no upfront entry costs. This marketing and sales technique made more small businesses willing to use this system because it gave them little risk factors by not having to pay additional costs for the reader. The readers later became available to consumers and retailers such as the Apple Store, Best Buy, Target, and Walmart for $9.95, which included a $10 credit for the purchaser's Square account. This made it more convenient for consumers to acquire the reader while still giving it out at no cost. Because the target consumers were small businesses, the fee Square Reader allowed them to save costs. Using the value chain analysis, the activities Square does differently from its competitors adds value to the company by lowering costs. Square manufactures the readers themselves, keeping their operations efficient. The outbound logistics would be selling the Square readers to large retailers, making it easy and convenient for small businesses to acquire. Identifying the customer's needs of keeping costs low, Square's marketing and sales technique is to give out the readers for no cost. This method makes it very easy for small businesses to start using the system. Continuing the support for customers, Square provides useful analytical data for merchants using the system to help them better understand their customers. The activity Square does differently from its competitors allows it to have a higher margin with a competitive advantage. The main competitor of Square would be MasterCard. MasterCard is considered a main rival as they offer a service which is similar to Square, which is known as PayPass. PayPass was actually the first contactless payment system ever introduced and was launched in the United States in 2005. PayPass technology relies on an RFID-powered NFC chip within the card, which the consumer taps in order to make a payment, replacing the traditional swiping motion of a normal debit or credit card. MasterCard's PayPass has become increasingly popular with both consumers and merchants, with approximately 92 million PayPass-enabled cards being issued worldwide to go along with 700,000 merchants accepting these special cards. PayPass has been so successful that it has not only increased spending across multiple different consumer segments, but has also increased the consumer's loyalty to the card. With MasterCard already possessing strong brand equity, increasing customer loyalty, and a successful product with a large share of the market similar to that of Square, MasterCard should not only be considered Square's rival, but also the main competition. In order to compete with MasterCard, Visa also launched its own NFC payment system in 2007, which was known as PayWave. Even though Visa is a much larger corporation than MasterCard, the PayWave service was not very successful, as only a small portion of merchants worldwide began accepting it. Although the initial offering of PayWave was unsuccessful, Visa would not be deterred. In an attempt to popularize PayWave, Visa partnered with ISIS, a joint venture of mobile carriers AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. Visa's hope was that the partnership would entice the popular mobile carriers to make NFC technology the new standard for payment processing. Although Visa has spent much time and money on their own contactless payment system, they should not be considered a rival to Square. In contrast, they should be considered a complement because in 2012, they invested an undisclosed amount of money in Square. While the reasons for Visa's investing in Square are also unknown, it is illogical for a rival to invest in a competitor's business. Initially, Visa may have been a rival to Square, but their position has now changed and can be viewed as more complementary. The Business-in-a-Box product allows Square to expand their product offering to their existing customer base. The kit includes 2 Square readers, an iPad stand, a cash drawer, and an optional receipt printer for $299. This set gives merchants everything they need to effectively create a point-of-sale register for their business. While Square manufactures its own readers, the company outsources all manufacturing and assembly of the additional products in the Business-in-a-Box set. This allows Square to keep the cost of the set lower for buyers. By creating an inexpensive kit, businesses can have their own point-of-sale register without the additional costs. The Business-in-a-Box expands Square's strategic position by increasing buyer value. Square is able to fulfill the customer needs in one package at a much greater value than traditional retail avenues. Our group believes expanding the customer base by moving into adjacencies best represents the core value of the resource-based view, which sees resources as the key to superior firm performance. If a resource exhibits VRIO attributes, the firm could then gain and potentially sustain a competitive advantage. While the strategic alternative of expanding the customer base by moving into adjacencies does not fully represent VRIO attributes, when compared to the other strategic alternatives, our group feels it represents more of these attributes than any of the alternatives. By expanding into adjacencies, Square increases the number of partners in its client base. Each partner may result in hundreds, if not thousands, of Square devices used. This objective can be met by expanding into larger companies, which will have a greater number of store locations for the device to be used. There is also the potential for store chains to mimic one another once one uses the Square on a large scale. A store's competitor may seek the advantage of greater portability and convenience and may also become a partner of Square. Our group makes this recommendation with respect to the other options, deciding not to recommend expanding products or monetizing data. It is our belief that the number of alternative products is rather limited and may result in excessive research and development costs. We also decided against monetizing transactional data. Though Square provides several reports at no cost to its clients, it has the ability to sell much more involved data at great value. It is our group's belief that much of this data may be self-produced by the client.